For 180 million years, they were the undisputed masters of our planet. I mean, we're talking about an empire of giants, armored titans, and some of the most fearsome predators you can imagine. Their story, well, it's literally written in the very bones of the Earth. Okay, let's dive into this epic tale of their reign, their ruin, and a pretty surprising legacy that's actually still with us today.
Yeah, this is really the central question of this whole story, isn't it? What happens when an era of just absolute dominance comes to a sudden, violent end? I mean, what's left? What rises from the ashes? The answer, you'll see, changed the course of life on Earth forever.
Okay, the sheer scale of the devastation, it's just hard to wrap your head around. 75%. And you know, that number isn't just about the dinosaurs. When they vanished 66 million years ago, they took 3/4 of every single species on the planet with them. We're talking plants, animals, marine life, just gone. It was basically a global reset button.
So here's the ironic thing. To understand the ashes of the dinosaurs' world, we actually have to go back to a different apocalypse. You see, their story doesn't begin with a bang. It begins with a recovery from the single greatest catastrophe life on Earth had ever known.
Yeah, before the first dinosaur ever walked the Earth, the planet was nearly sterilized. We're talking about the Permian extinction, often called the Great Dying. And that name is no joke. It was an apocalyptic event that just cleared the slate. It was in this recovering, kind of empty world that a new kind of creature would finally get its chance. You know, it's really easy to think of the age of dinosaurs as just one single long period, but it was an entire era that spanned 180 million years. The best way to think about it is in 3 acts. First, you've got the Triassic. That's where they got their start. Then comes the Jurassic, when they grew to these incredible sizes. And finally, the Cretaceous, which was the absolute peak of their diversity and power.
So let's go back to the beginning, to the Triassic. And for this, you've got to forget the giants for a moment. Seriously. The very first dinosaurs, they were small, they were agile, and honestly, they were not the dominant animals in their ecosystem. Not even close. They were just one of many reptile groups trying to make a living and survive on that vast, hot, dry supercontinent, Pangea.
But that didn't last long, because as we enter the Jurassic period, everything changes. Everything. The age of being the bit players, that's over. Now, the age of giants begins. This is the moment that dinosaurs truly take over the world. And what an explosion of life it was. I mean, you have the long-necked sauropods, like Brachiosaurus, creatures so massive they literally shook the ground. And, of course, you have terrifying predators like Allosaurus hunting them. But it wasn't just on land. The skies were filled with pterosaurs, and the oceans, the oceans were teeming with enormous marine giants, too. They dominated every single corner of the planet, no exceptions.
Okay, so as we move into the Cretaceous period, the planet itself is still evolving. Pangea is continuing to break apart, right? So you get new continents, new coastlines. And then something truly revolutionary appears. Flowers. I know, it sounds simple, but this was a game changer. This changed ecosystems forever, providing totally new food sources and driving even greater diversity among the dinosaurs. And this is the peak, the final act. The grand finale of their reign produced some of the most iconic creatures to ever live. Of course, you have the ultimate predator, Tyrannosaurus Rex. And then you have its primary prey, the walking fortress that was Triceratops. This was it, the absolute pinnacle of their 180 million year evolutionary journey. And then it was over. Just like that. After an unimaginable stretch of time, the end came. And it wasn't a slow decline. No, it was a sudden, catastrophic blow. Right from the heavens. I mean, just think about that contrast for a second. An empire that lasted for 180 million years, brought to its knees by the events of a single terrible day. It is without a doubt one of the most dramatic moments in our planet's entire 4.5 billion year history. So what was it? This is the culprit. An asteroid. 10 kilometers. That's about 6 miles wide. To put that in perspective, we're talking about an object the size of Mount Everest, just screaming through space, heading directly for Earth. An impact with truly unimaginable energy was just moments away. In the moment of impact, that was just the beginning of the horror. It slammed into the Yucatan Peninsula with the force of billions, with a B, billions of nuclear bombs. First, this triggered global firestorms that literally baked the planet. Then, a thick cloud of dust and soot gets thrown up into the atmosphere, completely blocking out the sun.
The whole world is plunged into a long, dark winter where plants died and the entire food chain just collapsed right from the bottom up.
So the world changed. I mean, completely. In the blink of an eye, geologically speaking. But amid all that devastation, an opportunity emerged. You see, those small mammals, the ones that had been living in the shadows for millions and millions of years, they suddenly found themselves in a world that was empty of its rulers. Okay, and this is where the story takes a really fascinating turn. Because the end for the dinosaurs, well, it was a beginning for someone else. Their catastrophic extinction created an opening, an opportunity that would eventually, believe it or not, lead directly to us.
And here is the incredible connection to our own story. Their ruin was our beginning. It's that simple. Without that asteroid completely clearing the board, mammals would have likely just remained small, nocturnal creatures, scurrying around in the dark. The fall of the giants is what allowed our distant ancestors to finally step out of the shadows and begin their own journey toward dominating the planet.
And yet, there's a twist. Even with 75% of all species wiped out, life, as they say, finds a way. It's incredibly resilient. The dinosaurs' story didn't actually come to a complete and total stop. One little branch of their massive family trees somehow survived the apocalypse.
And here it is. This is the amazing final chapter, the big reveal. You know those giant theropods like T-Rex? Well, their smaller, feathered cousins, they survived. And guess what? They are all around us today. I mean it. Every pigeon you see on the street, every eagle soaring in the sky, they are the direct descendants of dinosaurs. Their legacy isn't just trapped in fossils, it's alive, and it's flying.
And so this is where we end. The dinosaurs ruled for a length of time that's almost impossible for us to comprehend, only to be wiped out by what was essentially a random cosmic event. It's a pretty humbling reminder of just how fragile any kind of dominance can be, right? So it really makes you wonder, after our own time on this planet is over, what will our legacy be?